So, good evening, friends. We'll start with today's session. We are discussing regarding the homeopathic management of one-sided diseases since last lecture. So, he started discussing about homeopathic management of chronic diseases and variety which he started discussing about is the homeopathic management of one-sided disease. The diseases in which very few symptoms are present are called as the one-sided disease, and that's why they are rather difficult to cure, as Hahnemann said. And it's truth. And that's why he divided the one-sided diseases into two types, the one-sided diseases with the internal variety and just a minute. Hello. 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 Are you getting my voice? Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. So he has divided the one-sided diseases into two types. The one-sided diseases of internal variety where the symptoms are internal, such as migraine, chronic headache, or whatever it may be, where very few symptoms are present. And another variety where the symptoms are external, one-sided diseases with external manifestations called as local maladies. So for the understanding, this is very important and this is necessary. Once you classify them, then it is very easy to how to manage them. And then he started right from aphorism number 175 onwards, the homeopathic management of the internal variety of one-sided diseases. Out of which four aphorisms we have finished right from 175 to 178, where he explains over there, even though they are the diseases with very few symptoms present, what is required is one quality, the discernment of the homeopathic physician, which is very much necessary so that he can understand the and take out the portrait of the disease from the patient. He has to use the knowledge which he has gained when dealing with the case taking part, right from aphorism number 83 to the 104. And at the same time, if you are not getting the characteristic symptoms, sometimes you have to follow the how to investigate a fundamental cause, which has been mentioned in aphorism number 5. All those things which we have discussed yesterday's lecture. And one more thing which he explains over there. If you get a remedy on the basis of these few symptoms, let us start with that remedy. There are different types of reactions which can happen. The first type of reaction, if all the symptoms are characteristic enough, even though they are very few, the patient's remedy, if it is a similimum, it cures that patient. And that's what he has mentioned in the 178 aphorism, that if the few symptoms of those patients, which are strong, characteristic, decided, uncommon, peculiar are there, then that remedy works in that patient, even with the first prescription also. So up to this we have discussed. Let us go ahead with the aphorism number 179. More frequently, however, the medicine first chosen in such a case will be only partially. That is to say, not exactly suitable, as there was no considerable number of symptoms to guide to an accurate selection. So, second possibility. First possibility, you get a right remedy. Second possibility, you don't get a right remedy, you get a partial similimum. So, we have learned partial similimum, how to tackle the partial similimum in acutes we have discussed. Now he explains it chronic, how to approach with such case. In this case, in aphorism number 180, he says, in this case, the medicine which has been chosen as well as was possible, but which, for the reason above stated, is the only imperfectly homeopathic, will, in its action upon the disease, that is only partially analogous to it, just as in the case mentioned above, that is aphorism number 162 sequence, where limited number of homeopathic remedies renders the selection imperfect. produce accessory symptoms, and several phenomena from its own array of symptoms are mixed up with the patient's state of health, which are, however, at the same time symptoms of the disease itself, although they may have been hitherto never or very rarely perceived. Some symptoms which the patient had never previously experienced appears and or others they had only felt indistinctly become more pronounced. So second possibility now he tries to explain that if you have chosen the remedy which is based upon those very few symptoms and you have given that remedy to the patient, then the possibility is that there might be a few symptoms. One of the symptom might disappear. Sometimes there were very few symptoms present, now they are distinctly coming up along with some appearance of the new symptoms, to which Hahnemann labeled as accessory symptoms, which we have learned while discussing the how to tackle with the partial symptoms. So now you have a group of symptoms on the basis of which it will be easy for you to find it out a remedy. So portrait becomes big. Once you give the partial simillimum, it acts as a stimulus. And that stimulus stimulates the vital force of that low susceptible chronic disease state person, and it stimulates his reactions. And once it gets stimulated, it starts presenting its symptoms, and those starts appearing over there. And then how to approach that he explains in 181. So let us understand what he says in 181. Let it not be objected that the accessory phenomena and new symptoms of this disease that now appear should be laid to the account of medicament just employed. They owe their origin to it, certainly, but they are always only symptoms of such a nature as this disease was itself capable of producing in this organism, and which were summoned forth and induced to make their appearance only by the medicine given, owing to its power to cause similar symptoms. In a word, we have to regard the whole collection of symptoms now perceptible as belonging to the disease itself as the actual exciting condition and to direct our further treatment accordingly. So there might be many objections to this. Some people consider that those new symptoms which are aroused, they are the symptoms of medicines. Already we have discussed this topic earlier. These are not, yes, definitely these are the symptoms which are stimulated because of medicines, but they are not primary symptoms of medicine. So don't make it fixed in your mind. These are the symptoms of medicine. These are the symptoms which are produced because of the stimulus of the medicine, which was imperfectly selected. And because of which those are the symptoms which newly appears are the symptoms of the patient, and they are not the symptoms of medicine. Many a times confusion can occur in people's mind that these are the symptoms of medicine. These are not at all the symptoms of medicine. So these are the symptoms of the patient only. So now you have big totality. Earlier there were very few symptoms. Now you have given imperfect stimulus, that means partial minimum, and after stimulating that, the symptoms which were there, those also becomes distinctly present along with the appearance of the new symptoms. Now you get a big totality, and for that totality, you can find it out a remedy on the basis of law of similarity. So when you have symptoms in your hand, it becomes simple to choose a remedy. If you don't have symptoms in your hand, it becomes rather difficult to choose the remedy. So this is the way with which you have to approach and find it out a new totality for this case. And then in aphorism number 182, he says, but before that, there is one footnote to earlier paragraph. That footnote we have to learn. Footnote number 111. When they were not caused by an important error in the regimen, the violent emotion or tumultuous revolution. Tumultuous means अति क्षुब्ध किंवा खूप राग आल्यामुळे, बिकॉज ऑफ सिव्हिअर अँगर. रिव्होल्युशन म्हणजे सडन चेंज, आमूलाग्र बदल. A tumultuous revolution in the organism, such as occurrence of cessation of menses, conception, childbirth, and so forth. So what he's saying over there, those new symptoms which arises should be because of medicinal stimulus only. They should not be the part and parcel of normal physiological reactions of the human being. So sometimes it might happen because of climacteric syndrome, some new symptoms are aroused. Those are not because of stimulus of the medicine. And that's why he is explaining over there, those symptoms which are newly aroused should not be a product of faulty regimen. Faulty regimen means if you are not able to sleep whole night because of some work, next day you suffer from the acid peptic trouble, you suffer from the heaviness of head or headaches. And this reaction might be a reaction to the situation and not to the medicine. So you have to understand exactly that those symptoms are only the symptoms of the patient after giving the medicine. So you include that symptomatology, which is only because of stimulus and not the error of regimen or diet, fault in diet, but those are the stimulus, medicinally stimulated symptoms. And then he turns toward the 182. And what he says in 182, thus the imperfect selection of medicament, which was in this case almost inevitable owing to the too limited number of symptoms present, serves to complete the display of symptoms of the disease, and in this way facilitates discovery of second, more accurately suitable homeopathic medicine. So what has happened now? Now you have many symptoms. Now you have portrait of disease. Now you have totality of the symptom. So it becomes simple task for you to find it out a right simillimum, and this will be a second simillimum for this case. The earlier was the imperfect, but now you have symptoms, and it becomes you can find it out a perfect simillimum, and your work can be done. So see, this is one another way with which you can approach in such types of cases where you are not having the clear symptomatology of the case. You can stimulate that with the help of imperfect stimulus and get the totality. And that new totality gives you a new remedy. Then he turns toward the 183. And here he explains how to collect those newly developed symptoms. See what he says. Whenever, therefore, the dose of first medicine ceases to have beneficial effect, if the newly developed symptoms do not, by reason of their gravity, demand more speedy aid, which, however, from the minuteness of the dose of homeopathic medicine and in the very chronic disease is excessively rare, a new examination of disease must be instituted. The status morally, as it now is, must be noted down, and second homeopathic remedy, selected in accordance with it, which shall exactly suit to the present state, and one which shall be all the more appropriate, can then be found, as the group of symptoms has become larger and more complete. So now you get ample symptoms because of stimulus, and you should not wait too much. You just find it out how the disease state is expressing. Now there are some original features along with newly aroused symptoms, accessory symptoms, and that state persists for a certain time. You take that as it is, consider that state as the patient state, find it out the totality, and find it out a right simillimum for that case. So there should not be a lack of time. It should not be too much delayed, because that state is a reflection of that specific individual which has been developed because of the artificial stimulus, imperfect stimulus, and because of which patient has started expressing the symptom. And then your work becomes simple because now you have ample symptoms in your hand. Again he explains about 112 footnote, where he explains it related with the more complete picture of the disease. So 112 footnote. In cases where the patient, which however happens excessively seldom in chronic, but not infrequently in acute diseases, feels very ill, although his symptoms are very indistinct, so that this state may be attributed more to the benumb state of the nerves, which does not permit the patient's pain. and sufferings to the distinctly perceived. This torpor of the internal sensibility is removed by the opium, and in its secondary action, the symptoms of disease becomes distinctly apparent. Third possibility which he has mentioned, that there is a paucity of symptoms. You are called for the patient where there are no symptoms. Patient is in coma and you are in the ICU. At least get fantasized that you are called in the ICU for treating the comatose case. Your work is rather difficult because there is no symptom available. Nothing is available. Patient is in coma, deep coma. There is stertorous breathing and no reaction. Zero reaction, called as benumb state of mind and body. If this is so, what to do? Question arises in our mind, how to treat? That is what is opium state is. Such a state is the opium. Benumb state of the body and mind is the opium state. Hahnemann explains in this third possibility, where there is absolutely benumb state, where there are no symptoms, then it is the time to give the opium to stimulate that patient. And once you give opium, that patient can get aroused, who was semi-conscious or unconscious, now comes into the consciousness and starts showing the symptomatology. Earlier, he was in a benumb state where he was not presenting any symptom. Now he starts showing symptomatology. Now he cries, now he weeps, now he shouts, now he shouts with pains, and everything comes out with life. Earlier, life was disturbed, because of which he was in coma. He was in stuporous condition. So opium is the one of the important stimulus which you can use in such types of cases, and that opium, when given to the patient, such types of patient, stimulates the vital force to react back, and once it reacts back, it brings the patient out of stuporous condition or semi-comatose condition. So third possibility is benumb state of mind. See, three possibilities which he has mentioned. First, partial similimum but with characteristic symptoms can cure. Second possibility, the partial similimum with few symptoms stimulates the patient to throw away the symptoms and you get the totality with which you can find it out. Second best remedy. And third possibility, where there is a benumb state of mind and body with zero symptoms, give the opium to the patient to bring out the symptomatology so that you can choose another remedy for the patient. So all three things which can be useful in chronic states, and that's what he has mentioned over there in this footnote, that this possibility one should not miss in chronic. And last aphorism, that is aphorism number 184, where completes the total homeopathic management of internal variety of one-sided diseases. What he says in 184. In like manner, after each new dose of medicine has exhausted its action, when it is no longer suitable and helpful, the state of the disease that still remains is to be noted anew with respect to its remaining symptoms, and another homeopathic remedy sought for as suitable as possible for the group of symptoms now observed, and so on until the recovery is complete. So same thing as we have learned in acute. In acutes also he has mentioned the same thing. In acutes also he mentioned that if in the second time also if you are not getting the correct similimum, you are getting only partial similimum, you have to follow the same path. That you have to find it out, whatever is remaining totality plus newly added accessory symptoms from new totality, find it out, a new remedy till you get an ideal cure. So unless and until you get an ideal cure, it is not possible. And this is what he is explaining over there. This specific method you have to follow till you get the cure. So homeopathic management of internal variety of one-sided diseases, which he mentions right from the aphorism number 175 to 184. And here completes the complete homeopathic management of this variety of one-sided disease. Many times we get such a variety. Specifically, the migraine cases, they are quite common in homeopathic OPD, and you have to follow the same track. So you should be very cautious and you should be very keen in dealing with such types of cases so that you get the symptomatology to find it out the right remedy in one-sided diseases of internal variety. Tomorrow session, not tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll start with the homeopathic management of external variety of external variety of one-sided diseases called as local maladies. So right from aphorism number 185 onwards, the homeopathic management of local diseases starts. That will start in tomorrow's session. So this is what we have learned today. Thank you being there. And my suggestion to all of you, be there at 9 o'clock so that we can learn something new, how to play with the rubrics and how to consider the thought of the rubrics. That is another very important thing which I will going to take. Be there along with your Kent's repertory so that you can catch all those things very easily. So that for that purpose, uh, uh, recent edition of Kent's repertory should be there in your hand, with which you can find it out the rubrics and compare, and then you will understand how to differentiate one remedy in one rubric from the another remedy. So thank you being there. If there are any questions, we can discuss. Otherwise, we'll conclude.
Hello, sir.
Huh?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Sir, if the patient is diagnosed as a CKD in primary stage, can we prevent it from going from the dialysis, sir,
Definitely,
or creatinine?
definitely, because it is definitely because of some reason. Generally, the psychotic miasm is dominant in chronic kidney disease. And if you find right remedy, which brings that patient again into the normal, I have seen many times that kidney functions return back. I had a case of very 90 years old man who was sent by a physician and whose creatinine was 10 point something. And he was in a worse state. He was in home. He was nearly more than 90 kg and he was in agony with a uremic vomiting, headache, etc. And he was not tolerating anything. And as being age 90, there was no chance of doing dialysis. The physician referred it to me. I started him with the L serum along with other medicines. And I have not seen the patient. I have seen his photograph and all the reports, and I started the pathological prescription. But it works so beautifully that he survived more than 4 years thereafter. And creatinine, at last, it was 2.1. He was recovered so nicely with the help of homeopathic medicine. So it is possible that you can bring back the patient's condition with the help of homeopathic remedy.
L serum, how we can like use in all
serum angularis. It is given in Borix Mater Medica as a serum angularis. You can use 7x potency from Requeg, which I'm using regularly, repeated doses. Generally, it is useful in ARF more than CRF.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any other query?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
So generally, which potency of opium should be given to semi-comatose patient or stupor in Benham condition?
30 is better.
Repeated or single, sir?
2 to 3 doses, that's all.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll meet definitely at 9 o'clock. Ask your friends to join so that it will be a good learning for all of you. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Thank
Thank you.
Bye-bye.